Welcome. We're so excited to have you join us today for Sharsheret in the Kitchen Cancer Nutrition 2022 Confidence and Clarity with the Beller Method with Rachel Beller, a registered dietitian nutritionist. I'm Jessica Jablon. I'm the California Program Coordinator at Sharsheret. For those of you who don't know about Sharsheret, we help women and families facing breast and ovarian cancer as well as those who are at elevated genetic risk through free, confidential, and personalized support and resources. We also provide health education throughout the country. And one of our goals during COVID is to make sure that we are offering healthy living and cancer prevention information to you during this hard time and giving you what support you need. In addition to our virtual services that can be found on our website or by emailing us, you can also access prior webinars on a range of cancer-related topics, as well as access our calendar of upcoming virtual programs through our website. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on Sharsheret's website along with a transcript. Participants' faces and names will not be in the recording as long as you remain muted. If you would like to remain private, you can turn off your video and rename yourself, or you can call into the webinar. Instructions are in the chat box now for both options. You may have noticed that all participants were muted upon entry. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the call. If you have questions for Rachel, put them in the chat box, either publicly or click on Sharsheret in the chat box to submit a private question, and we'll ask them throughout the program. We also received many questions in advance, so we'll do our best to get as many answered as we can. And we'll send up a follow-up email with tips and recommendations from today's webinar with the recording in the next week or so. As we move into the webinar itself, I also want to remind you that Sharsheret is a national not-for-profit cancer support and education organization and does not provide any medical advice or perform any medical procedures. The information provided by Sharsheret is not a substitute for medical advice or treatment for specific medical conditions. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem. If you have any questions that are specific to your medical care, Rachel may not be able to advise regarding specifics and would advise that you speak to your medical provider. Always seek the advice of your physician or a qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. We're very excited to be continuing our new season of Sharsheret in the Kitchen, an initiative in partnership with Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles to empower those of us at risk for breast and ovarian cancer to make healthier diet choices. Our prior Sharsheret in the Kitchen webinars can be accessed on our website at the link in the chat. You should have received the recipes for today's program in advance. My colleague will put the link in the chat so you can download and print it or see it on your screen. We want to thank our generous sponsors, Cedars-Sinai, the Cooperative Agreement DP19-1906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Sigmund and Edith Blumenthal Memorial Fund. It is because of their generous support that we have been able to continue to provide our series of webinars throughout the pandemic. We also want to give a special thanks to our community partners, Beller Nutrition, and to Congregation Neve Shalom in Portland, Oregon. We are very excited that so many members of your synagogue have joined us today. Wherever you are located, we would love to work with your community, whether it's to partner on a webinar like this or plan a virtual or in-person program. With Sharsheret Pink Day coming up on Wednesday, February 9th, it's the perfect time to coordinate a program in your area. Sharsheret Pink Day is a worldwide initiative spearheaded by students, communities, and organizations. Everyone wears pink as a way to generate conversations. They engage in tikkun olam, or repairing the world, through a wide range of educational and fundraising events. Join thousands of others sharing information about Sharsheret's vital programs and services in person and on social media. And speaking of which, if you aren't already following us on Sharsheret on social media, you should be at Sharsheret on Facebook or Sharsheret Official on Instagram. We're constantly posting important educational information, resources, and we even have guest speakers like the Instagram Live we held this past Friday with today's expert, Rachel Beller, who shared some valuable nutritional nuggets. So make sure to follow us. There are the links to our social media and Pink Day in the chat for you to learn more. Now, before we get cooking, I want to introduce you to Marianne, who is going to share her personal story with us.
Thanks, Jessica. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Thank you so much for inviting me. First, I want to start by saying that I have a good story. A year ago on January 18th, it's coming up here, right at the end of a telehealth visit I was having with my primary care physician, I almost forgot to mention that I had found another lump. Initially, I wasn't concerned because for me, finding lumps was a relatively regular occurrence. At my ultrasound, the radiologist confirmed that I had a 1.7 centimeter highly suspicious lump that, based on their record, showed was new from even the past 6 months. My MRI results showed that I had 9 centimeters of potential disease. And I remember when I got that, I asked my physician, I was like, wait, no, you must have meant 9 millimeters. No, it was 9 centimeters. And I also had lesions in my left breast. I was honestly terrified, but the outpouring of love and support that I received from family, friends, coworkers, my care team was just over the top. They called, they sent care packages, they prepared meals, they wore bracelets of hope throughout my whole journey. My surgical oncologist even called me on her vacation for her 25th wedding anniversary. She also sang the song My Favorite Things to Me as I drifted off before my bilateral mastectomy. And I remember that because that was a song that my mom and I used to sing when I was a little girl together. 3 days after my surgery, my husband was on my left side, my daughter was on my right. I remember we were standing in the bathroom and they called with my pathology results. It was 5.5 centimeters. So still pretty scary, but it was all DCIS, also known as stage 0, which means that it was completely contained within my milk ducts. Other than my wedding and the birth of my children, I don't think that I've ever had or experienced more joy or relief. And I do understand that I was incredibly fortunate, and I don't take that lightly at all. I have a whole new perspective on life. Every day for me is a really beautiful day, and I am truly thankful for every morning that I open my eyes. I've learned so much on my journey. You know, I've learned to be very pragmatic always, but to always have a glimmer of hope, to truly live in the beauty of today, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I have to be present for today and to fully take the opportunity to embrace all the people that I truly love and that love me. And there's one other thing that is, from my perspective, a really goodness that came out of the journey. And I am not perfect and I am striving. But if there is just a glimmer of any hope or opportunity that I could possibly deliver a source of kindness or support to other people that was shown to me, that would just, that would be great. And so I'm striving to do that, even for people that I don't know, whether it's to bring a meal or to send flowers or just to be there to listen, as so many people did with me. And so with that, thank you for letting me share my story. I really want to thank all of you with Sharsheret, the individuals in the organization, for the value you bring, and just being there for all of so many of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. We so appreciate you being here today and sharing your meaningful story with us, and being so honest with us today. We learned so much from each other's stories, and we're just grateful that you were here today to share with us.
Thank you.
I want to just take a moment to mention our Thriving Again kits. Whether you were diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer 10 weeks ago, 10 months ago, 10 years ago, we offer resources and support to help you navigate your entire survivorship journey. Our free customized Thriving Again kit includes information on health and nutrition, an exercise stretch band, genetics, information on bone health, psychosocial support as a breast and or ovarian cancer survivor, and even a cookbook. So you can find out more about that in the link in the chat. Now, January is often filled with New Year's resolutions related to healthy living, particularly exercise and diet. And that's why it's so timely and wonderful that we were able to bring Rachel back for another webinar. Rachel Ballard is a registered dietitian nutritionist and creator of the Ballard Method and the Ballard Nutrition Community Outreach Program. She specializes in weight management and cancer risk reduction and is a 3-time best-selling author and spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. She sits on several medical advisory boards, including our own Sharsheret, Cancer Support Community, and JK Living. Rachel conducted research on the role of nutrition in breast cancer risk reduction at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and the John Wayne Cancer Institute at Providence St. John's Health Center for over a decade. She has worked with Matthew and Camila McConaughey, Laura Dern, and Cheryl Crow, and is the go-to nutritionist for Good Morning America, The Today Show, Extra, Dr. Oz, CNN, ABC World News Tonight, Rachel Ray, BuzzFeed Glamour, and Vogue. Her mission is to provide a high level of nutritional support at an affordable price through her 8-week transformation masterclass, which welcomes members from all over the globe. And the next masterclass starts on January 15th, and you can find information at bellarnutrition.com. Also, please stay tuned at the end of the webinar as we are excited to give away a gift set of some of Rachel's Ballard Nutrition spices, generously donated by Rachel to one lucky person who fills out today's evaluation. Rachel, welcome to Sharsheret in the Kitchen, and thank you so much for being here today.
Such a pleasure, always a pleasure to be here with all of you and support and empower women with information. It gives me the greatest pleasure to educate and empower women and really transform how they think about the choices that they make when it comes to what we choose to put in our bodies in a way that makes us feel good. So today I'm really excited. I'm sharing just 3 simple recipes from the Rachel Ballard Nutrition Masterclass. And I love these. I've been getting great feedback from the participants, so I thought it would be great to share it with you guys here today. So the first one are going to be these Oat Cups. I took one out so you can see right here, these Oat Cups. And what I love is that they're packed with fiber, they're easy and absolutely delicious, and you can, it's so versatile. You can add so many things to it, which I'll talk about. So let's get right to it. So what you're going to need is a large bowl, and you're going to take 2 bananas. I usually prefer them to be a little greenish because when they're a little greenish, they have more resistant starch, which means that they have more prebiotics to nourish your gut microbiome, but they don't have to be greenish. So you're going to put them in a bowl, and then you're going to simply mash them in the bowl. Going to look like that right here. Sorry, it's sliding. And then after they're mashed, you're going to add a tablespoon of pure maple syrup, which is totally optional. You don't need to. You barely actually taste it because you're making 12 of these, but it's a nice little touch. And some vanilla extract. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Followed by 2 cups of sprouted rolled oats. I love using the sprouted rolled oats because it gives you more value when it comes to the nutrient absorption. And I love oats in general, and I use oats a lot throughout my recipes, especially the breakfast recipes, because oats are rich in a special prebiotic fiber known as, they have these beta glucans that are great, that have shown great promise when it comes to cancer protection, and they're delicious. But again, there are very few foods out there that are rich in these beta glucans. Oats is one of them. Mushrooms is another that's really popular on the program, but that's why I love using oats. They're also very rich in, they have fiber, absolutely delicious, but they're really great for us. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing all my ingredients together. After I do that, I'm going to add a spice blend. I am obsessed with spicing. I'm using my Cinepil Spicer Nutrition Blend, which is made out of organic Ceylon cinnamon, granulated orange peel, and ginger. Just incredible as far as taste and functionality as well. This really, really cranks up the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant value of these Oat Cups dramatically. Spices are an incredible way to really crank up the antioxidant value, anti-inflammatory properties of just about anything. That's a whole other talk I would give. This smells really, really good right now. And then I'm going to add 1/4 cup of chia seeds. And I love using chia seeds. Sometimes I use basil seeds. You can use sprouted organic ground flax seed, which I love to use as well. I'm really big, I don't know if some of you don't know, but I'm known as somebody who's obsessed with fiber. I really, really highly encourage all of my patients to utilize a phased approach to gradually increase their fiber intake to a good target number that's suitable for them. And one of the key things is to diversify our fiber. You want to treat even things like fiber, like an investment portfolio, where your diversification within is key and essential, because our gut microbiome, we need different types of fibers to nourish our gut in order to help with hormonal balance, with weight management, with our immunity, and so much more. So I'm using chia, but again, you can diversify and change it up as you wish. And that goes for like, if you're having spiced overnight oats, if you're making pancake, whatever it is that you're making, you definitely want to get to a place where the first thing you do is think about, like, how much fiber do I need in a day? What's the realistic way for me to start phasing it in over time? You want to phase it in over time. And then once you've got that down, you want to start to diversify your fiber intake. Really, really important.
Rachel, there's a couple of questions that came in about where to get sprouted oats and
Sure.
whether or not gluten-free oats have the same benefits.
Yeah, oats in general are actually gluten-free. It really has to do with where they're being packed. So that's super, super easy. Unless you have celiac disease, oats are just fine. Sprouted oats. I pick mine up at Sprouts here in LA. Whole Foods has it. Amazon will always have a few brands available. And what I tell people who start the masterclass is, because people think like, well, I got to get that one, so let me throw my rolled organic oats out and start with that. You don't need to do that. This is just like when you need to refill, this is the next level. It's like an upgrade, and you can transition into that. That's important, because just because something's a little better doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't good. So yeah, so you can easily find it at health food stores. Sprouted oats also come rolled, they come steel cut. So again, we're diversifying different oats, different spices, different fibers. But first, the most important thing that I advise anyone to do is to establish a nutrition blueprint for yourselves. Get those main building blocks like fiber that we're talking about here as a whole. And then once you have that down, start tapping into the diversification, have fun with it. And it doesn't feel as overwhelming when you do that. So yeah.
There are a couple of people who mentioned that they have very sensitive stomachs and spices can trigger that. Is there something that you would recommend, or some maybe?
Sure. So it depends. Usually when we refer to spices and our GI, it's usually things that are really, really spicy. You know, it's like heat. So when you think about, let's say, Ceylon cinnamon, which is known as true cinnamon, it's very warming and it's very soothing, actually, and it helps with our GI system. So I think it really depends on the spice.
And there's a question about sprouting the add-ins. Do they all need to be sprouted, or can you just use whole or ground?
Sprouting the add-ins,
like chia or flaxseed.
I prefer getting sprouted. You don't have to do it. They're all great. So the sprouting process actually enhances nutrient absorption. So you get more out of your food. So if your ground flax is organic and sprouted, then you're more likely to absorb more of those omega-3s and lignans, those phytoestrogens within that have been shown to be protective. So I think it's just having something that is more valuable and you'll get more out of your food, but that doesn't mean it has to be. There's also price points to think about. Some things are more expensive. So it's really important to figure out your own strategy with that. But I would definitely ingest non-sprouted varieties.
Thank you. Yeah. I think those are all of the questions right now where we're at.
Okay, great. So, so I've mixed together, I've mashed the bananas, and then I added my vanilla extract, my optional tablespoon of pure maple syrup. I've added this sprouted organic rolled oats and the Cinepil Spicer Nutrition Blend and the chia seeds, mixed it all together. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna spoon part of it and put it into the muffin pan, which you can spray, by the way. You can spray it with like avocado oil spray is what I tend to use in a non-aerosol bottle. I mean sprayer, sorry. And then you're just gonna put a little bit into your muffin pan like that. And then I usually take a spoon and I hollow it, like I basically make a little dent in it. Like here, you can see here, you see how like it's like, there's like you dig a ditch in there. So it's got room for your toppings and things like that. So you press it with a fork and then you put it in the refrigerator for about 25 minutes, the muffin pan, and then you bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for like 15 minutes. And you pop them out and then you have it right there. You've got these great fiber-filled oat cups. I like having 2 for breakfast, 1 for snack. You can do so many things with that. Like for example, I've got some seed butter here. Oop, here we go. And you can spread some seed butter inside, which gives you some additional protein and essential fats. The one that I used here is this one. It's mother butter. I love it. It's a fully seeded butter. That's kind of fun, but you can use sunflower butter, almond butter, whatever you want to use is fine. This was sent to me by a thriver, actually was making it because she couldn't have nuts. And so I spread that on there. You can also add a plant-based yogurt, which you can see that I've done here.
Nice. That's delicious.
It's just so much fun. It's so versatile. I love it. Like my private patients, they'll send me pictures of all their little oat cups with the berries and all that stuff. And it's fun. It's nice that it's easy though. Like you want to keep things super simple yet powerful. So I had put some cashew yogurt. You can add your berries on top and they're fun. I think they'd be great for Valentine's Day too. So
they do look perfect. There was a question about using applesauce potentially instead of bananas if someone's allergic. Is that possible?
Yes. One of my participants loves doing that, Bobby. She adds apples. She uses applesauce or grates apples because she can't have bananas. I have these fiber breakfast cookies that I love recommending, and that's an easy swap as well. So absolutely, you can do that. And there's some great options for that. And you can use any kind of apple.
Somebody had asked if you could mold the muffins on the upside down part of the muffin tin so that you have more of a what did she say it like so the center is bigger and consistent.
The center is
I think I think if the muffin pan was upside down, maybe with mini muffins that might work where you could pull it off and have it that way.
You could do so many things with it. Like I freeze them a lot and take them out the freezer to have them ready. They're just great. They're also very portable. Like if you're not putting the yogurt or anything, I'll just put them in a little container and take them to go. And so it's just a very easy idea. I love that it's rich in fiber. It's got this synergistic effect of the ingredients. You've got the the oats that have great cancer protective properties, rich in beta glucans, prebiotic fibers that support our gut microbiome, and they're so comforting and nourishing. We've also added the warm spices to further enhance the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties and give it a great sweet flavor without adding sugar. Then we've got the fiber boosters in there. That also further helps modulate our blood sugars, which I know is a hot topic that we have a lot of questions on. So that is incredible because you're getting these omega-3 fats that support an anti-inflammatory response in the body. You've got fiber, which is so important, again, for modulating our blood sugars, helping our body remove excess unnecessary hormones out of the body, like cholesterol and estrogen and things like that. It feeds our gut microbiome, which supports our immune function. It's so interesting to me, you know, what we know today and what we didn't know a few years ago about how fiber, something so simple, natural fibers support our immune function. Think about that. They interact with immune cells and help stimulate our immunity. This is all food. We're not talking about, you know, excessive amounts of fiber supplements and things like that, which are great. Sometimes, by the way, I have it here, sometimes I'll add a prebiotic fiber powder into my recipes, but that's not the first thing I'm going to do. This is going to be like that fancy chandelier I bring into my house that I already built. I've got a roof over my head, it's strong, and then I start to accessorize with these other items. And that's the same way I approach it with my patients. First, we build a house together, we live in it, we understand the sunlight is coming in from which direction, how things work, and then we start to bring in that amazing designer who's going to bring all these fun things to make things look and look really, really nice and add those special touches. And that's where supplements come in.
There's a couple of questions about the apples. People are curious what the equivalent measure would be for the applesauce to bananas.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start there and then I can go on from there.
I'd say like 3/4 cup of unsweetened applesauce. And I would add the spice, well, you could add it anywhere. So.
And if you're substituting apples, would you grate them, chop them, or do you recommend just the applesauce?
We've done both. So sometimes we'll grate them, and I don't mind actually having the skin, more fiber. Doesn't bother me to have that texture in there. And sometimes people just shortcut, use applesauce that's unsweetened, and that's perfectly fine as well.
And I know I see a question about how long they stay good in the fridge or freezer. And I love that question because I think it's such an easy question.
Yeah, I'll keep these in the fridge for like a week. My patient, Anita, my patient of like 20 years, she loves putting them in the toaster oven just before she eats it for a few minutes. And I love that tip. And then in the freezer, I keep it for like a good 3 months at least. I've got some in my freezer right now. I love it. It's so convenient. It's also so economical if you think about it. You know, buying this stuff, even fully organic with everything that I've got here, it is so much more economical than going almost anywhere to pick up a muffin or anything like that. Even Starbucks. I mean, you're walking, I can make the whole thing for the price of something there. So I think that that's something so important to think about. We usually think like, oh, if I buy the bag of oats that's organic, that's going to cost more than the non-organic. Yes, that could be the case. But when you actually think about the cost of like a dozen of these muffin cups, these oat cups, it is much, much more economical than purchasing just these things that we buy on the fly. And that's where it's really, really important when you're working with a dietitian, when you're doing anything with the program or anything, the fact that things are easy and within reach for you to do within your lifestyle is one of the most important things. If you can close your eyes and say, I can visualize myself doing this 6 months, a year down the line with everything that's going on in my life, you're in a good spot. That's good. Really, really good.
I love that. That's so true. So making little changes along the way.
Changes, they could be little, they could be big even.
Yeah.
As long as they're within your reach and you can sustain it and it's powerful and productive and you know that it is. So that clarity and confidence and that sense of empowerment is so important. Otherwise, we do something for a few months, we abandon it. And from my side of it as a professional, it's almost like, well, what's the point?
You have a couple of raving reviews in the comments of people who've worked with you. So, and they said that the best way to reach out to you is at ballardnutrition.com through your website. So,
I thank you. So I'm ready to move on to the next recipe. I think this one is good to go. I'm gonna do a little cleanup here. Oh, by the way, I meant to say that for mashing the bananas, sometimes I make like a big batch of either the breakfast cookies or these oat cups. And to speed things up, I'll put a bunch of the bananas in the bowl and I'll mash them up with a potato mash. Just a little tip I meant to mention, and it escaped me. All right, so I'm just gonna move a few things out of the way here. And we can move on to the next recipe. So this kind of is related to the oat cups, because what I wanted to mention is that many times I will add my caramel sauce into the oat cups, and I'm going to show you guys how to make it right now. Actually, you guys have this recipe, so we're moving on to the spiced date caramel sauce, which is a lot of fun. Actually, this one stays in the fridge for a good week. And it's just so simple. Sometimes you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, but you don't want something uber processed. You want something very simple without a lot of added sugar. So I love this one. So here's what you're gonna do and need for this recipe. Sometimes I'll also swirl a modest teaspoon into my spiced overnight oats or into my oatmeal or anything like that. So it's kind of fun. And again, it's super, super simple. So what I did before we started is I soaked 10 dates. I took out the pit and I soaked 10 dates in hot boiling water. Then I strained it and I put it in a blender cup like this. Okay. So you're going to put the 10 pitted dates. You could put a little pinch of sea salt in with it. I personally found that I like it without, but people are really into salted chocolate and salted caramels and things like that. So it's totally optional, but it's just a pinch. And then I used half a teaspoon. You can use my Cinepil Spicer, the one we used before. I'm actually using the Morning Boost Nutrition Blend. I just love it. It reminds me of like pumpkin or apple pie kind of spice. Again, a lot of anti-inflammatory properties, flavor and function. And then I'm going to add 3/4 cup of plant-based milk. I'm adding some hazelnut milk to this one, but you can use any milk that you have on hand for that. And then a little bit of vanilla extract. I used half a teaspoon actually. And that's it. So you're going to put this on your blender. You're going to blend it. I'm going to spare you guys the noise. You're going to blend it for probably a good 15 seconds. And then you're going to pour it into a jar or any container. And that's what I have here. You can see the texture.
Yeah.
kind of thick. You can thin it out if you want. I usually start with I measure exactly almost 3/4 of a cup of the milk, because it's always easier to thin it out, but you can't really go backwards. So, and it depends on your dates and things like that, how much water you squeezed out, but you can't go wrong. I mean, it's great. It's just so delicious. And again, what I'll do is I will many times take one of my oat cups and I'll spread a little bit of the date caramel on it, like that.
Looks
And
good.
then you can put a little bit of the yogurt on, and you could put your berry on, and you've got this little trio. It's fun and very versatile, and it just adds a little bit of a sweet touch. And again, these are the things that we incorporate as fun little treats in a way that's very modest.
There were a couple of questions that came in about the sauce. One is, do you save the water when you're boiling the dates to use it with anything?
You could if you want to, but it's probably a little sweet to drink. So I don't see why not, but I usually just strain it out. But I like that idea.
Is there a non-alcoholic vanilla that you recommend?
There are some vanillas that have no alcohol, and a lot of organic options as well for that as well. Yeah, pretty easy to find.
And then are there any recommendations you have for a blender?
Oh, so I use the Ninja blender, frankly, because I used to work with them. So I have a bunch of them. I love it. I would recommend a blender that offers a blender cup, and there are so many brands that do offer that, but the NutriBullet does as well. But I just love it because it's so easy for me to not think about taking a big blender and blending always, this is such a modest amount. And what we're going to be doing next with the golden matcha chocolate also requires a cup. Or if I'm making a smoothie for one of my kids, or if I'm making smoothies, I can go from single to making more. So having the cups I found was really, really great. One other thing I do want to mention is that I don't like having a ton of different gadgets in the kitchen. So this will have also the blender cup, it'll have the larger pitcher, and then there's a food processor that I have over there. But it's fun because then I can I could chop a salad or do something really quick, and it's all coming from one place. So what that tells us, basically, it goes back to my message with nutrition as a whole, is that you want to keep things simple for yourself. I can relate to, because I get really intimidated if I have a recipe that has me pulling out a million ingredients. It's fun if I have a special occasion or a holiday, or it's a special Shabbos meal or something like that. Yes, I'll do it. But on my day-to-day, I'm probably not doing that. I just need to get things done. So same thing with our gadgets, our, things like that.
Is there a specific type of date that you recommend?
I love the juicy medjool dates because they're soft, and I use them a lot for when I have a sweet tooth. They're so soft and sweet. And what I'll do is I'll make these little date and nut boats. So I'll take out the pit, and then I'll put, I love walnuts. That's my favorite combination, but you could do raw almonds or cashews or whatever it is. And I think they're the best energy bites because you've got the natural sugar from the date, and it's so intensely sweet. After 2, I'm done. And that's great because you want to take care of that sugar craving and that fix. But then what I do is adding the nuts actually helps modulate our blood sugars and gives us more sustainable energy. So, people, this is more pre-COVID, were always asking me for a bar on the go. I need a bar. I'm like, you know what you need? You need a good little plastic container with 2 dates and a few nuts, and you've got the best energy bar, so to speak, right there in your purse. You can't beat it. And there's no additives and sugar alcohols and all these things that go into these bars, let alone the cost. It's usually about $2 for one of these bars. So that's just a little tip. Sometimes, by the way, you got me all excited with the dates and everything. What I love recommending is I'll take the dates and I'll take out the pit again, and then I'll put a nut butter or a seed butter in the middle, and then I'll put them in a container and I'll put them in the freezer. And boy, is that fun with a nice power tonic, like a nice soothing tea or like a bedtime recovery tea. That's a great snack, and it's great frozen. You could do it without freezing it, but it takes more time to eat and it's fun.
So you said you used hazelnut milk in your recipe, right? Do you generally prefer like almond or oat? Do you have any preference in your plant-based milks?
No, I think it depends what I'm using. My preference is less is more. What I mean by that is I like plant milks that don't have much in it other than the nut, water, and maybe a touch of sea salt in the ingredient list. That's my first preference there. Because when you're buying some of these other milks that I have to say, from working with so many patients over the years and so many of my masterclass participants, the caloric number sometimes when we're watching our weight is very attractive to us. So this one has 30 calories, but this one has 130 calories. Well, when it comes to nut milks, what's going on is the companies are basically adding more water. So you're buying more water, basically. But in order to they add water, and then in order to make the milk somewhat attractive, once you start pouring it, they're adding different emulsifiers and binders. Now, the emulsifiers and binders haven't been shown to be harmful for your health. I'm not saying it's bad and it's going to cause cancer or anything like that. But some people do complain of some GI a little bit of a GI upset or something disruptive. So I say, look, add your own water. Buy something that's 130 calories. You want to use a cup, do half. Add another half a cup of water. You bypass all those additives. It's super pure and great, and you get more. So that is something that comes up a lot where people ask about that, not because we're counting calories by any means, but it is something that, we pay attention because it's information on the products that we buy. So we think about that.
And what about the refrigerated versus the shelf plant-based milk? Is there a difference?
No, I mean, the refrigerator is a little bit more fresh, but you buy both. It depends. Sometimes you buy the shelf stable to have some backup in the house. I know with COVID, a lot of people, we're not finding things in the market. So it's nice to have something that's available if that.
Right. And then there was a question about what type of yogurt. You said it was cashew yogurt, right?
Yeah.
And is there a specific brand that you recommend?
I'd say the most popular brand from the masterclass participants, I'd say hands down, they tell me the Forager brand is one that they like the most as far as texture and flavor. Trader Joe's just came out with their own unsweetened, finally, cashew yogurt. Some people have a hard time going with completely unsweetened, but we don't want to train our palate to crave intense sweetness. So I get a lot of questions about adding stevia and adding erythritol and sugar alcohols that are totally natural, if that's okay. And my answer to that is it's okay if you use a little bit, because again, we're trying to train your palate and we're trying to train your mindset not to continuously crave intense sweetness. So whether it's sugar or sugar substitutes that are natural, we want to think about it the same way. So it's a little bit. So sometimes it's a natural jam that's not very, very sweet, that has no added sugars. And sometimes it would be a sugar, one of those sweeteners like monk fruit or lakantos or any one of those. A little bit can go such a long way.
Yes. Yes. So is the and then the hazelnut milk. Someone was wondering where you purchased it.
That I got at Sprouts, and there's all kinds. There's flax milk. I mean, there's macadamia. There's so many milks right now. But again, the most important thing is that less is more on the ingredient list.
Right. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, let's continue to have some fun here. All right, so our last recipe is the golden matcha chocolate. And I love recommending this drink. It is so empowering, so much fun, and there's so much good within. So here's one version of it. I have so many different versions of this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a cup of plant-based milk, anyone you want. And what you don't have to do, but what I like to do is add 1 pitted date into the blender cup. And then I add a teaspoon of my golden breakfast power spicing nutrition blend. What I love about this is the cacao flavor, but I love the synergistic effects within the ingredients. So let me explain. So cacao has something called quercetin in it, and quercetin helps your body absorb more of the active ingredient in turmeric, which is also in the blend. So it's pure raw organic cacao, Ceylon cinnamon, and turmeric. And so there's a synergistic effect. They help one another in helping your body absorb more of the active compounds from turmeric. Turmeric, the body doesn't do a good job absorbing the active compounds and needs help. So sometimes, I don't know if you've heard about like turmeric and black pepper. Black pepper helps your body absorb turmeric by 2,000 times. So it's great on that front. They help each other. Fats help your body absorb more curcumin and some of the other active compounds. So cacao is doing that here. And then what's also great is I'm adding half a teaspoon of matcha into this. And what's also great is that cacao, the quercetin in cacao, enables your body to absorb more of the EGCG, which is the active compound that's beneficial in green tea, specifically in the matcha powder. So, knowledge is power. It's delicious. I love teaching about this, and it's a great drink. It's very, very tasty. So what you're going to do is you're simply going to blend this for about 10 seconds. And then you're just going to heat it up and enjoy it. Very, very simple recipe. And it's great. Very, very soothing, very comforting. Sometimes people want to enjoy it at night. So instead of matcha, you can add another, sometimes I'll add barley grass powder, which is so popular. You're going to be hearing more about it in 2022. And it has that similar green, powdery hue. It doesn't have caffeine. It actually has something called GABA that helps us relax and sleep. So it's like a good bedtime recovery type of latte. So the possibilities are endless, but the point is what we drink, anything we put in our bodies, if we can add more value, even I love recommending like power tonics where you've got different herbs and roots that you simmer, make a big batch and drink it throughout the week. It's great. So again, so many things. I mean, I could hang out here for hours and I'm going in different directions, but I'm excited. I love this stuff. But anyway, so yeah, that's the golden matcha chocolate. It's delicious and so simple to make. And you can change up your spices as well. But yeah, so that's the last recipe that I have for you guys for this session today.
And there's a bunch of questions that came in about the drink as well. What type of matcha are you recommending?
I recommend an organic, there's so many brands that I love going with, but I love a ceremonial grade 8 is my preference. And the reason for that is because it's taken usually from the first harvest. The leaves are really, really more superior than getting, let's say, a second harvest. Or there are a lot of, I'm seeing a lot of matcha that is for baking quality, or a lot of like, you know, you'll see it at different like coffee shops and things like that. It's not, after I've learned what I've learned about matcha, that's not what I'm talking about. We as dietitians refer to that as more like industrial grade matcha, because matcha is it's you know, it's something that's a treat. It's a luxury type of powder. It's about probably $30 for a container, probably make you a good 20 cups or so. But it's a treat. It really is a treat, but it speaks volumes to the quality as well. But again, if that's not within reach for you, there are other things that you can do. A lot of my patients, sometimes they say, look, I'll do the matcha, but it may not be so economical for me. So I'll say, fine, why don't you do the golden breakfast latte? You've got so much value in there. We talked about the cacao and the turmeric, and you're really, really taking that plant-based milk and probably increasing the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant value at least tenfold, just by adding the spices. Wow. So, you know, there's so much good that comes from these things, and it's not all or none. And we all have our individualized type of approaches and capabilities for these things.
And is there any caffeine in this drink?
Matcha has caffeine in it, but it's the kind of caffeine, it's different from what you get from coffee. The Buddhists use it to relax. It's not one of those high stimulant type of things. And cacao has a little bit of caffeine too. So like when you're eating chocolate, but not a lot.
And is barley grass powder gluten-free?
Yeah.
And I see some questions asking about different brands and things, and don't worry, we're taking notes. We're going to send them out to you. So we will get that information to you.
There's so many brands out there, so many good brands. For the masterclass participants, we give probably 4 different options within one product or something like that. There are constantly new ones coming out. The key is to look at the ingredient list and think, what's the better option? What is the cleaner, you know, better option? Less is more.
Well, yeah, it's really quite like amazing how when you start talking about the spices and how they can make such a difference in how we are, I guess, feeling, right?
Yeah, that's something that for me, working in the nutritional oncology space, through the years, working at the hospitals in the research setting, it is amazing how many trends come and go, how many supplements would be recommended. I used to have to track the supplements and the intake of all the study participants. I was working on a study that looked at the prevention of recurrence breast cancer with dietary modifications, a good 10 years that I is engaged in the study. And we had to keep tabs. So women would come in with bags of supplements. And I wouldn't even have room on my desk at my little research office. I'd have to put half on the floor and go through it. But what I did notice was that after 3 months, when I would do a follow-up, and then after 2 months after that, I would have plenty of room on my desk. You can't keep up with some of these things. So that's my point, is that you really, with nutrition, one of the key things that you want to really think about is your own ability to sustain what you're thinking about as far as the plan that's being presented to you by your professional, by a registered dietitian. So you really want to think about the reality of it. How do you incorporate it? Can you sustain it? Because with nutrition, it is about a cumulative effect over time. Doing something for the short run isn't going to make a big difference. So those are your own individualized patterns that you want to think about. So what inspired me when it came to, and I'll show because we are giving away a gift set of the spices, what inspired me to pursue something, I mean, this wasn't in my realm to actually think about producing any kind of product, but what intrigued me was that I saw an article from the American Institute for Cancer Research, the spices of cancer protection. And I thought, wow, this is a real thing. Like anybody can do this. It's probably in every one of our pantries right now. Right now, we probably have what we need to get spicing and to really crank up that, take our meals and our beverages and our foods to the next level with these things. So that's something that I feel like we could do. And my patients have spice blends that they use in the morning. And then there are some that are so universal that they use them in the evening for whatever it is. So like, for example, a Vegitude Power Spice blend goes on your veggies, it goes into your lentils, it goes into anybody who eats chicken or whatever it is, it goes everywhere. And it's easy to use, it's not overpowering, but you're getting so much good. So my point in saying this is to encourage you to open up your pantry, look at your spices, and look at them a little differently. They're so powerful, difference makers.
No, it's amazing, really. And thank you so much for generously donating that, the spice kit gift set. It looks amazing. We're so grateful that you were here today to share with us, and we've learned so much. I know I have a lot of tips that I need to add to my grocery list, and I'm sure everybody else does as well. We recommend that you follow Rachel on her social media and check out her cookbooks and her spices. And we want to thank Marianne for sharing her meaningful story with us. Please take a moment to fill out the brief evaluation survey that's linked in the chat box right now. As I mentioned, we're going to be giving away one of Rachel's spice gift sets that she generously donated. If you're interested, please fill out the evaluation to enter the giveaway.
Jessica, I have one more thing to add.
Sure.
That I forgot to mention in the beginning. The Rachel Ballard Nutrition 8-week transformation masterclass starts on January 15th. So check it out as well. And we have a special 20% off Sharsheret 20 for anybody who joins us for this 8 weeks of care. And also I found out this morning, we're going to be sharing a lot of tips and tricks on Good Morning America on January 19th. We're doing it remote, but if anybody's up and wants to tune in, then I'd love to see you guys there.
That's amazing, Rachel. You're always such a wonderful friend to Sharsheret, and we're so grateful. We have, we're just love having you, and you fill our minds with such knowledge, and we're just really appreciative.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be here.
Please never forget our social workers and genetic counselor are here for you and your loved ones. Sharsheret provides emotional support, mental health counseling, and other programs designed to help navigate you through the cancer experience. All are free, completely private, one-on-one. Our number is 866-474-2774. You can also email us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. Finally, I want to share a couple of the exciting webinars we have planned over the next few weeks. Join us for Genetics and Genomics, the ins and outs of testing for patients with gynecologic cancer on January 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern with our partners at Share, where Sharsheret's amazing genetic counselor, Peggy Cottrell, will be one of the panelists. And also save the date for our next Sharsheret in the Kitchen with Jeffrey Eisner, author of the national best-selling Pressure Luck Cooking Cookbooks, who will be showing us a couple of his recipes using the electric pressure cooker, or a lot of us know as the Instant Pot. This is happening on Sharsheret Pink Day, Wednesday, February 9th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Please also check our website regularly to see what topics are coming up. The link is in the chat. You can also access the recordings and transcripts of all of our past webinars on our website, and that link is in the chat as well. Please fill out the survey. If you click on it, the link is in the chat. And from all of us at Sharsheret, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you a wonderful 2022.